All right, bringing up the sound for the transition so I don't miss it.
And let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Crap, I just realized it's the wrong one. But oh well, we'll roll with it.
Sounded right.
No, it's your old one. But go ahead.
And welcome to another episode of the Cocktail Lounge. I am your hostess with the mostest, Aggie, and with me, as always, is the affable, quaffable, ever suave Brad Slager. How are you doing this evening, Brad?
I'm doing very well, very well. Everything's going good.
Got back
here.
in time with your drink?
I don't know what you're talking about. You're making wild assumptions there. I don't know where you're getting these ideas from.
No idea. None.
Going well. I'm having, I'm busy. For some reason, there's a lot going on, but
it has been a very eventful past few days. I will say that.
Active news cycle is like how we like to call it there in the business.
I mean, honestly, I know that there's some kind of sports thing going on. It's the summer league is on or whatever, and I know that the All-Star game's about to happen for baseball, but I haven't paid attention since Saturday. I have not paid attention to anything except what has been going on since Saturday evening over in Butler, Pennsylvania. Yeah,
there's news cycles, and then currently I think we're in like the Tour de USA.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is like a peloton of news. See what I did there? Sports.
I saw that.
That's it was on my word a day calendar today. Don't get too impressed. But yeah, it has been it's so weird that I've kind of like managed to fall into the proper arena of journalism where basically I'm critical of the press, and they are basically just losing their ever-loving minds on a weekly basis.
I know that a lot of other podcasts have covered what happened as regards the assassination attempt on former President Trump and everything. So that a lot of that has been covered. There's still an investigation going on. There's a lot of stuff that's still being, a lot of tidbits that are coming out of the entire situation. But yes, the fact that you are in the position to just basically aggregate how the media has completely lost its mind over this has been nothing short of.
Well, the funny thing is, it's not just this. The wheels already went off and they were upside down in the rhubarb 2 weeks ago after the debate.
Oh yeah. And they were, to be honest, they were trying to get, those trainer wheels back on their trikes, admittedly, and I could see that they were making an effort, but yeah, no, after this, it just completely the trainer wheels just completely came off. It's on fire.
Just it's so wild to behold because I keep, and I don't know, maybe I'm too charitable. Maybe I'm just, maybe I just look on the upside of everybody, and that's my fault. But I keep waiting for the press to like come to a realization at some point in time that holy shit, you know what, we've been caught, or this isn't working anymore, or something bordering on recognition is like, geez, guys, damn. Going back just in the last 9 months, look at the way they screwed the pooch on the Israeli war. Oh my gosh, those Jews, they bombed a hospital, 500 dead. Completely incorrect. Absolutely 100%
Oh, yeah.
false. Worst reporting I'd seen, well, last year. Then we've had this complete unacceptable explosion of anti-Semitism across the country. I mean, dozens of college campuses are going through this. We're seeing speeches, we're seeing marches, kill the Jews, wipe the country off the map, river to the sea. Nobody in the press seems bothered by this.
No,
Like,
they don't seem
they'll
bothered
report
by
on
it.
You know, they'll put it on the newscast. It's like, what are you talking about? I saw it on the news last night. It's like, yes, you did. Did you see the condemnation, however? Have you seen the pundits lecturing and pointing at the camera? Have you seen any of that was on display during the Trump years when they had to go find examples? You know, it's like, we're out here in Wichita where a swastika was painted on a shed behind a gazebo at one of the synagogues. Donald Trump is letting this run rampant across the country. That's what they had to do. And now we've got dozens of campuses where it's like, kill the Jews. You were allowed in here. Hey, Zionists, get the hell out of the library. Well, you know, we have to look at both sides and we have to understand.
There's no both sides about this.
This is a complex situation. And it's like, where the hell? What? Somebody had a Krylon can and it looked like it was the second coming of the Third Reich 4 years ago. But now all of a sudden it's like, well, let's give them their airtime.
No, I remember when I was in college, and I think I've spoken about this happening on my college campus, right in back of the old academic building, which is right between the old academic building and the Sterling C. Evans Library is kind of like the center of campus. And there's a space there, and usually they put art installations, you know, and whatnot in there, and they routinely change them or whatever. It's a small area. But one morning we woke up and there was a shack that had been erected and dead ravens were stapled to it, and it was laden with swastikas. And let me tell you something. The sheriff department was called, the campus police department was called, the city police department was called. There was an external investigation handled by the FBI. This was in the matter, I am not even joking, in a matter of 90 minutes, we had the FBI there. Wow. and College Station, for all that it's awesome and wonderful out there, is kind of far away from the nearest FBI field office, okay? They're about 2 hours from Houston, 2 hours from Austin, 2.5 hours from Dallas. So it's not like the FBI is just camping out somewhere nearby. So that was incredible rapid response. And so I'm reminded of that when you see it on campus now. And I'm like, why isn't the police doing anything about this? This is very serious. They were given a complete pass.
I mean, I'm looking at people giving speeches that should get you arrested. I've seen parades held where they're chanting hate crimes. What was it? A few weeks ago, we had 2 instances on both coasts, one in New York, one in Los Angeles. One was a graduation ceremony for Jewish students, and Palestinian protesters went there and started attacking them. In LA, at a synagogue, they were blocking the entrance of the building while they were storming outside of it. And the police are just standing back with their arms crossed, like, we're just going to sit back and see what happens.
It's almost as if they've been given orders to be reactive instead of proactive. You know, you actually have to wait until you have a physical confrontation and there's bleeding happening before they do anything.
Yeah, God forbid.
And even then, they probably
prevent violence. But I mean, this is the kind of thing that's going on the regular, and nobody in the press is losing their mind about it. Like again, stupid little instances years ago were banner headlines, and the pundits overnight are like, "Oh, this is just god awful. What's happening in this nation because of Donald Trump?" But because it's Joe Biden in control, they can't condemn the violence. They can't condemn the hatred. It's amazing. And then we had the debate meltdown, which completely exposed the utter sham that is our media complex.
It was incredible.
which just, I mean, literally rendered up. We knew all this stuff already. It wasn't like it was a, oh my gosh,
this is not news to us.
it's not
And
like a
that's the
veil
sad
was
part.
lifted. It was like, you guys are pinned. It's like they finally got painted into a corner. It's like you can't even deny it anymore, and they're trying to deny it.
They were very angry and they were very frustrated because the Biden administration actually put them in this situation, and they were to fall on the sword.
Well, they were
And
trying to
they
come
were
out
like,
and saying, we feel betrayed. Oh, the Biden White House duped us was one of the quotes. I think that came from Stelter.
Yes, they duped us. And I'm like, no. You've been
the hell up
the whole time.
A couple days ago, I covered this on the Chuck Toddcast. Clever. Get it? Chuck Todd podcast. It's a Toddcast. Oh my God, I love it so much.
Whatever.
I'm putting that on a coffee mug and selling it. Buy it, please. No, seriously, buy it. I have a cable bill that's just out of control. He had on Jonathan Martin from Politico. And the two of them, I'm fascinated with this episode because you could tell these are two guys on the inside and they're kind of yucking it up. Like they're buddies off screen and off mic. They are good friends, I guess. And they're like, telling war stories kind of with each other about what's going on. And they're yucking it up. It's like, oh man, can you believe this is going on, Jonathan? He's like, I know. Yeah, right. And then Chuck says, I got to tell you, I talked to somebody on the inside, one of the administration officials, not giving names because I'm a professional. And, they came to me and said, this can't continue, can it? He can't go on in this condition, can he? 2 years ago. And then Martin's like, I know, right? And Chuck Todd actually said that this was an open secret in D.C. He called it a non-traversy. That was his term.
A non-traversy?
And, and and he's saying, this is a top flight administration guy. I'm not going to give names, but he came to me and said, can we go on with the president like this? And Chuck Todd was almost aghast. He's like, but dude, you talk to him all the time. He's like, no, we never talk. The president doesn't talk to us ever. And they're unloading this on each other like they're at the bar or something. Like, well, it's Chuck Todd, so they're probably toasting watermelon White Claws or something. But nonetheless, they're like, tell me, ain't that right, Johnny boy? It's like, oh, Chucky, you know what's going on too. And it's like, you ass faces. You just admitted knowing about this for 2 years. You just said you knew about this 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then Todd's like, and we have been reporting on it. Bullshit. You have not. No, because the second anybody dared bring it up, that's ageism, that's hatred, that's partisan attacks, that's just non-political nonsense. You guys are ugly for bringing it up. And then, of course, all the videos of the evidence was put out there, and that was cheap fake. And that was all slanderous. How dare you? They were attacking anybody that dared talk about the truth. And here they are, literally, I think it was Monday, last week maybe. Yeah, 2 years ago, we were all just, can you believe that you're still talking about it back then? Oh, you assholes. I mean, it's that bad. It is literally that bad. And
I keep telling people, you cannot read the news here. You have to go outside. And, I even read left-leaning newspapers from, all over the world. But at least I know that I'm getting actual stuff that's not being covered here, and that's the problem. The stuff that you expect to be covered. One of my girlfriends in Germany was asking why it is that these protests are being allowed. And she was specifically talking about the college ones with the Palestinians. Now, keep in mind, she's in Germany, where they have open borders, and they're now having to deal with the consequences of an open border policy for the past 20 years. And she was like, I don't understand why they let them. And, I had to explain, well, we do have freedom of speech. And she says, yeah, but I thought that, if somebody pays tuition to go to school, they're supposed to actually be let to go to school. They're not even letting them go in the classrooms. why aren't the police doing anything? Why don't the police escort them in there? I mean, she had a lot of questions, valid questions. And it wasn't just about the theme of um, the protests themselves, because she happens to come from a country where, that wound is still, festering. So for her, it was like she was watching what her dad had warned her about when she was a little girl, and she's our age. And so she's like, I don't understand why you're letting this happen. This has already happened. History has happened. Didn't y'all learn anything from World War II? And I'm like, I did. But apparently we have not been teaching World War II in colleges or high schools for the past 20 years. So that is, it was hard for her to wrap her head around that, because her daughters did attend American schools as well as German schools. She was married to a serviceman for a time. And so she did not understand. She understands why in Germany the Nazi regime is not taught until you reach gymnasium age. But she doesn't understand why it wasn't being taught over here. They don't have that issue. They don't have the same issue that Germany has with that. So she's still very confused. And I've tried explaining it to her, and I've tried to be as neutral as possible. So, I mean, there've been times when I said, because we have allowed, these people to fester, they get indoctrinated in school. They don't get taught anything anymore.
Well, this, and this also cuts to something else too, because I hope nobody thinks that when I reference these outbursts on college campuses or something, like I'm looking to silence them or anything of the sort. I'm not. I'm fine with them saying this stuff. Basically, my call is this: where is the press outrage? That's the thrust of it. Because, like I said, just a few years ago, this stuff was unacceptable and led to hours of punditry, and now it just gets ignored. And that's, we've said it on the show before too. And I'm doing this over at Red State as well, because we're having our 20th anniversary this week, and we're doing a lot of, specialized content and such. And my Liable Sources podcast is free this week, for the way. So you can actually hear Brad, because, you're hearing me now. So that's not such a teaser, but nonetheless, I'm bringing, I'm kind of like doing overview stuff for new people as well. And that's one of the things I always harp on in the last couple of months is look who is always shifting and changing. Look who's desperately trying to realign themselves, and look who's been consistent.
Yeah, I gotta say the Liable Sources podcast, and it's actually kind of fun.
That's a kick-ass show.
Okay, what did this bitch do this time?
Highly recommended, I got to tell you.
I do. I recommend it.
When it comes to this anti-Semitism stuff, though, that's the thing is, look where, like when that was going on during the Trump years, I would say, look, anti-Semitism is wrong. I'm not pro-anti-Semitism. I'm just saying this is kind of a weak example. In fact, one of the times they had the guy attack a synagogue, I think in Pittsburgh, I want to say it was. Oh, man, Donald Trump, look what he's leading to. And it turns out the guy attacked the synagogue because he was mad at Donald Trump, not a MAGA nation guy. Oh, and it turned out because Donald Trump is so sympathetic to Israel.
Yeah.
Funny how that little nuance didn't make its way into the news reports. The guy was mad at Trump for helping the Jews, so I'm going to attack a synagogue. Look what Donald Trump is inspiring.
They've become that meme of, the guy on the bike, and then he sticks the stick through the spokes and then falls, and this is what they did to me. They've become that meme. They really have.
Yeah. And then this weekend.
Oh my word! This.
I don't know. I'm sure, like for a lot of people, this might be "Where were you?" kind of moment, And where was I? I was in the tavern.
It was surreal.
Deeply. I mean, we were in there, and like now, this time of year, there's nothing on television, right? So we sit down, and there was baseball and some other lame ass sport that I couldn't. And then one of the back TVs, they had professional cornhole league. I was like, beep that. Noreen, remote, please. We got to get that on the big TV. So,
You know them by name and they give you the remote. Oh my gosh.
well, yeah, they're busy. Okay. They're doing stuff. I got, I'm take a little grief off their hands if I can. I'm here to help. So, yeah, I dial it up and I get it on, the screen. So that day I was at the side of the bar. So I'm looking kind of across on the side, because it's the main TV. If you're on the end of the bar by the taps, you're watching, so that's just my configuration. As I'm watching this for about an hour, back in the dining room, one of those TVs was on Fox News, and I could see the chyron, and it just said, like, disturbance at Donald Trump rally. It had just happened, and nobody knew what the hell was going on. I was like, what? So it's like, grabbed the remote, and I took one of the other televisions. Like, let's just put this on and see what's going on. And by the time it pulled up, it was shooting at Donald Trump rally, and everyone was like, tough.
Wow. I mean, I went out to eat, so I missed it. I got home and I turned on the TV, and I had left it on news. I think I had left it on CNN or something. and I'm like, I'm looking at that going, is this really going on? Am I looking at this? Am I reading this correctly? I actually paused the TV. Thank you for that little DVR thing, thank you, technology. And I paused so I could read what the chyron actually said, because my brain refused to engage that. I mean, just screaming, oh my God.
Yeah, it was definitely a bizarre moment. I mean, to watch it just transpiring in real time and realizing that, former president just about lost half his skull. I mean, a millimeter away. And it was remarkable. It was amazing. It was historic, all kinds of, there wasn't enough hyperbole for this. And I just, sat back and I was like, "Jeez, I am going to be a busy son of a bitch on Sunday."
Not going to lie. I think about 3 hours later, I was like, I'm not even going to talk to Brad for about 5 or 6 days after this.
I was just, because we got home that night, we were still doing some stuff, and I'm just, I'm pulling the phone up every so often. I'm just scrolling through. It's like, we're going to tag that one. Okay, we'll favorite that. It
was just,
you can see him struggling
replaying
just like as it's happening. And then by the Sunday morning shows, it was just, this is the thing that kills me, was by Sunday morning, these people had time to sleep on it, digest things, get things in order mentally. Okay, here's basically my biggest complaint is this was a severe historical event that you approach soberly. Okay.
Yes.
President just about damn near lost his life. Okay. Let's just put everything aside and just report. And there were some good ones. I saw a couple field reporters. There was one gal, I don't know her by name, I apologize, but she was reporting for one of the networks for like hours. She was on scene and she talked to everybody, and she was on point. And what do you think about this? And who do you blame? She wasn't playing that at all. She's like, just tell us, what did you see? What did you experience right here? And I'm watching it, and it struck me that kind of reporting, straightforward, getting the facts, talking to people, stood out as being good and great and unique.
But that's what they used to do.
Well, that's the thing. It's like
that's what you expect.
She was being a reporter and did the job of a reporter, and it was like amazing. When it's been
so long.
But then the Sunday morning shows came in, and holy shit. I mean, these are all seasoned journalists. Stephanopoulos, Martha Raddatz. I mean, they're talking about it, and Martha can't stop herself from blaming Trump for nearly having his skull perforated.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he only brought this on himself because, because if you look back at all the stuff that he's been saying, and she brought up
seriously, blood. They all went down the whole skirt is too short rabbit hole.
Yeah. And she brought up the bloodbath comment. What do you expect when he says, if you don't elect me, there'll be a bloodbath in this country? And okay, Martha, it knows better. Okay. That was an economic content storyline that he was on when he made that phrase. Okay. He was talking about China building cars, going to kill Detroit. And if it does that, it's going to hurt the economy. So elect me or else we're going to have a bloodbath on our hands with the money. That's what he was saying. And it's an economic term.
Mm-hmm.
She knew that. She knows what he was saying and what he meant. And yet she still turned on that. So that means she is just hyper partisan. That is it. And at this moment, she couldn't stop being partisan. It was amazing.
And this was an opportunity for the media to actually step back and realize the gravity of what could have, I mean, how bad it could have been. And instead of actually talking about how, what the investigation has released so far, instead of talking about how perhaps the Secret Service should have gotten him off the stage sooner, perhaps this should have happened, perhaps he should not have been outside, instead of talking about things that were pertinent to the whole situation, she really worked hard to make this is Trump's fault from almost dying. And I'm like, how is this? And the one thing that drove me crazy was like, the people that were saying this was not an assassination attempt because he's not president. And I'm like, okay, tell that to Bobby Kennedy. Okay. Oh yeah, you can't. I'm like, I'm wow. This was an assassination attempt. That's pure and simple. But there are people that are saying, well, because he's not the current president, this doesn't count. And I'm like, are you high? How does this not count? And of course, this is just one of the, as an aside, one of the things that I've been seeing is Japan Twitter. They're going nuts doing Trump memes and Trump animation. And I mean, really admiring him for his stance, when he raised his fist and started saying fight.
And they
and
just lost a prime minister a couple years ago.
Exactly. And who, by the way, was a good friend of Trump's. And so the Japanese media and everybody, they're all talking about how horrifying this was. And they're actually putting it in the light that it should be cast. Whereas our media is completely saying, well, this is because of Trump's rhetoric, so he probably deserved it. That's pretty much where they're going.
Yeah, and Margaret Brennan did the same thing at CBS.
Mm-hmm.
Like she was saying, the conservatives need to tamp down the vitriol. They have to really put a lid on this and turn the heat down. Why? Because they didn't that's the amazing part is what was going on is the press realized that for years they've been promising MAGA Nation is going to develop into a violent mob. And
where is it? I've been looking for it.
They have promised us this with all 4 indictments. They kept saying, and we got to be careful outside the courthouse for violence to erupt from the MAGA people. Never did. Like one time, I think it was the New York case. Like a herd of journalists rushed into Manhattan because they were so convinced there was going to be a mob scene and violent breaking out with MAGA supporters of Donald Trump. I saw 2 or 3 journalists saying it was a farce because I turned around and every single person I interviewed was another journalist. That's all that showed up in New York.
You're serious?
Like, why are you here? Are you mad about Donald Trump? It's like, dude, I'm from Reuters. It's like, whoa, look at I got the lanyard. See? Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah, I'm looking for one.
That's hilarious.
If you find a MAGA,
that is one thing that, a lot of people have, and the media refuses to acknowledge, but some people have actually pointed out is, our nominee for the Republican, ballot was almost assassinated on Saturday, and where are the MAGA riots? Mm-hmm. I've been promised MAGA riots. I'm still counting. I'm counting here. It's been
It was
5
supposed to
days without
happen
MAGA
after the
riots.
conviction. It was supposed to happen at all 4 indictments. It was supposed to happen. I mean, there's been all this time. They keep promising us this, and yet
This is why they keep harping on January 6th, because that is the only instance they have of something remotely resembling a MAGA riot. And it even wasn't that.
But what it really...
Hang on, not to interject, but not only have there not been MAGA riots, they've already made 3 arrests for violence outside of the 15 block perimeter of the RNC in the last 2 days. So
I believe somebody was also shot, but I'm not sure about that one. But I think, okay. So
did you see that the Lincoln Project has one of
the
those...
Pedo Project?
Well, yeah, they've got one of those LED signboard trucks outside. And it just I think it's scrolling through the 10 commandments and showing all of the ones that Donald Trump has violated, supposedly.
This is what I don't understand about the Lincoln Project, because they are the last people to want to cast a stone.
Jesus starts writing in the sand as we speak.
Yeah, he's just writing right there. He's just writing right there. And I don't understand. Even Lincoln himself has issues with this. Why are you using my name in pain? Honestly.
Well, I mean, to be fair, now they're trying to say that Lincoln was a secret homo, so it kind of makes sense if that's true.
Whatever. I don't care.
That's not going to make the Lincoln Project more legitimate, though. I mean,
no, but it might give, they might be able to say, hey, since he was, then, maybe we should look into this whole, child thing and blah, blah, blah. No, it's always a slippery slope. No.
That's the thing I wrote is when I saw one of these vans, it's like, you realize they're not allowed to park this within 500 yards of a school or a children's hospital. Got to be careful where they tuck in with that little number. But what we're seeing taking place on Margaret Brennan, she actually had the stones to do this. She was sitting across from none other than Steve Scalise.
Oh, my word.
Was lecturing him on how Republicans have to tone down the rhetoric, lest
the
violence
man
break out.
Was almost assassinated himself. And she has the temerity to actually sit there and say that to his face.
I wanted just to go down to CBS Plaza. Not that I'm anywhere near it. That's why I couldn't. But it was just, that's when you just want to put a hand on her shoulder. It's like, Margaret, take a week off. Just go somewhere.
Well, yeah, maybe she should have gotten the Morning Joe treatment.
Yeah. She's telling a guy that was nearly killed by a Bernie Sanders supporter, your people need to tone this down. But that was did you see them today on Morning Joe?
Oh, yes, I did. I relished it. I did. I sat there and enjoyed those bitter, bitter tears.
I know you didn't see him yesterday. Because
I did not.
Anybody who's unaware, and let me just say this, if you are unaware, it means you're leading an upright and proper life. But on Morning Joe, the Star Ensemble was prevented from going on the air yesterday because the network decided to preempt them with normal, straight-laced news coverage. And then it wasn't just because the news cycle was so overwhelming we had to have our real reporters on. The network actually came out and said they were concerned about people on the panel of Morning Joe saying something that would be inappropriate and bring shame to the network. They said maybe not shame, but words to that effect.
And here's the thing. They are known for their incendiary retorts. And so because of that, and the thing was, you're listening to Scarborough talking about how they were told Sunday night that it was going to be one solid newscast across all of the networks. And so they weren't going to have Morning Joe. And fine. And then he came to find out it was just his show. And so he wants to know why it was just his show. And so, I mean, it was just, and I love how Mika just sat there and saying, you come to us because we deliver, we delivered the hard truths in a very civilized manner. And I'm like, are you watching the same show that I watch? Because I'll be honest, I will watch, MSNBC, I'll watch CNN, I'll watch all the other networks too, because you learn from the opposition, obviously. So and every so often I will turn on Joe and Mika to see that love fest, and I love how they hold their cups and she just kind of leans a little bit towards him, while he's talking, and then she leans back to look at him, leans away from him to look at him and to actually respond to something that he says. And then he starts talking again. She looks down at her coffee cup and she leans back to him. And I'm like, it is so much fun for me to study their body language because they're married to each other. And I'm like, this is just like, it's almost like she thinks they're at home. Honestly, that's how she
Well, that's
treats
the
him,
feeling of the show, Aggie, because we have to feel like we've been invited into their parlor.
But it's funny because he'll be talking about something and she'll correct him. She will correct him, like saying, no, it's like, no, what you mean is. And I'm like, oh my God, he is totally henpecked. So for me, it's kind of like this little telenovela that I get to watch in the mornings every so often. But yeah, they were very upset with the decision from the Comcast and NBC and MSNBC and all these people to pull their show for that reason. And at the end, he just throws a little tizzy and says, if it happens again, if something monumental does happen again, we will be the ones sitting on these chairs. And if they don't like it, well, then we'll go somewhere else. And I'm like, that's the best news I've heard all day.
Well, on Sunday, when they made the announcement, I said, wow, already the nation is starting to heal.
Yes.
But for him to come out and say that, if you preempt us again, I'm gone.
And I mean,
how much of a neutered threat do you need to hear? like we can't find another Joe Biden sycophant to do this for 4 hours. Maybe he thinks it's really difficult to find a turncoat Republican who laps up everything the Democrats say. Let me tell you something, Joe. Walk away, and the very next day, it'll be brunch with Kinzinger and Cheney.
Oh my God! Oh,
there's your replacement right there. So
okay.
That's how valuable ScarJo is. Okay, if we need to,
I can only hope for that to happen.
A pretend Republican manning the show in the morning. Trust me, Adam Kinzinger will be more than happy to sit there and blather away the same horse shit.
Oh my gosh, I cannot tell you how exciting and how awesome that would be, because that would mean that Adam Kinzinger would get the fuck out of my state. He'd have to leave. He couldn't do it from Texas.
I just love the fact that the day before the debate, he came out and I'm in full support of Joe Biden for president. Yeah, shocking. Nobody, Adam. Nobody was surprised.
He's a fucking carpetbagger. He lost his district and decided, well, let me go to Texas and see what I can do over there and see if I can start fomenting the, change and see if I can get a district of my own. Dan Crenshaw is giving him serious side eye right now. So I'm like, you two bitches go at it.
I loved, it was about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago on CNN. It was just before the debate, I think. In fact, it was the day of the debate. That's what it was. And Kinzinger was throwing his support to Biden. They introduced a segment by saying potential future presidential candidate for the Republicans, Adam Kinzinger.
What?
I mean, I know he's a CNN advisor now or whatever role he plays there or something. So they're fluffing their own because this is what they do. But it's like, there's no way in the hell No way in hell they believe that's realistic in any capacity.
No.
If he didn't have his district shifted by the Democrats, then he would have been voted out because Republicans were not anywhere near support. Look at what has happened to him since. The only purchase he's ever had has been showing up on MSNBC and CNN until CNN gave him a contract. Nobody in the Republican Party is even looking at him without pointing and laughing, of course. He's not, he has no leadership position whatsoever in the party, no influence. Nobody would even give him the time of day if he knocked on the door. It's like, you know what we should do on this policy? Yeah, slam. And that's the end of it. So for them to say he's a potential presidential candidate is just desperate is the only word to come up with. But yeah, I mean, that's the level Scarborough has fallen to, though. Because I don't think he considers himself a Republican any longer. And
no, he hasn't been since he helped Trump get elected. I mean, that was the whole spiel. How often
I still
Trump
laugh. Have
on?
you ever seen those clips though when he was going on the show and there's like a little bit of a montage and there's Mika playing with Donald Trump's hair in like flirty fashion.
Oh,
She's
yes.
like shifting it to the side and giggling and such. And it's like,
Oh yeah, I remember. And
play
I'm
that
like,
on a
why?
loop so she can see it.
Yeah, because I mean, it was a love fest for Trump on that show. Until
He was
got the
practically a
nomination.
co-host. That's how often
Yeah,
he would be on
and
the
then
program.
they turned on him, and I'm like, yeah, I knew it. They just wanted to prop him up because they felt he was the easiest one for Hillary to beat.
I marvel at the show itself because I mean, Joe gets so full of himself that he doesn't pause to think what he's saying because he literally has said this recently. Donald Trump, listen to me now. Look me in the eye. Listen to what I'm telling you, is going to arrest his opponents and execute his opponents. Listen to what I'm saying. Just look at the record. I'm sorry, Joe. Is there some kind of track record of Donald Trump killing his opponents that I missed?
I'm not saying it.
Haven't heard this. Sorry. I thought that would have been in the news somewhere point in time. Donald Trump jails yet another opponent. Execution set for Thursday. Never happened. And I swear, I
The
don't
only
know
one
how.
trying to nail opponents is Biden, and the checks and balances keep stopping him from being able to do it.
Yeah. And it just, I love the fact that I've lost count of how many. There's probably 5, if not more, on MSNBC now who have declared, pundits on the air have declared that they are in fear of their life if Donald Trump is elected. At the very least, going to knock Maddow off the air. Scarborough and Company, their show is going to be completely canceled. Donnie Deutsch has promised half of them will be in jail. Jen Psaki on Sunday said, after Donald Trump was almost killed, as a journalist, I fear for my life. What? Like, did the bullet graze your mirror? What the hell are you talking about? Why are you? He almost got, a Republican almost died, and you feel for your life.
I don't think they I don't understand. I don't think that they. I can't even articulate this. I'm sorry, people. I know it's a podcast.
I don't think
I'm having a tough time.
Not enough people care about them to go to this length of arresting and killing them.
I just know that what happened Saturday, there was a shift. There was a huge shift. I saw it in my family group on social media, and I saw it with random people on X. I saw it with the way some people were actually disagreeing with big accounts and media accounts about their take on the entire assassination attempt. And, they would say, hey, I am not a Trump fan, and I I will tell you this: I was going to vote for Biden, but this kind of rhetoric, this is not coming from the MAGA side. This is coming from from what you guys type, what they say. This is not MAGA doing this, and you see reports of people saying, after the debate, yeah, I'm not sure I want to vote for Biden. After what happened Saturday, people are like, oh, hell no, I am not voting for Biden. I'm voting for Trump. I mean, people that were undecided are now starting to there was a definite shift. And you and I are old enough to remember the Reagan assassination attempt. My parents watched JFK. They were actually watching that on TV when it happened, and so for, and then, I remember vaguely hearing about it. The Gerald Ford was, there were 2 attempts on his life as well. But,
Which is
that was
that
something.
one really confounds me.
Well, the thing, it was totally weird. And so,
I mean, for Gerald Ford, couldn't they have just like put a banana peel on the steps of Air
they
Force
could have
One?
just waited. They could have
That's
just
probably
waited. He wasn't going to last very long anyway. They could have just waited, but whatever. But the thing is, we were witnesses to these things. We saw the assassinations of other leaders around the world. We lived through those things, and we witnessed how those assassinations over there shifted the political spectrum in those countries, and not always for the better, and so having this, having seen this shift, I don't want to acknowledge how much worse it could have been as far as the shift goes. I know how worse it could have been as far as the attempt, but the shift itself, because everybody, you see on social media, everybody talking about, oh, we're going to have a civil war, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, do y'all have any idea what you're asking for when it comes to an actual civil war? This isn't something that's going to be fought on the parallel. This is not delineated by your state boundaries anymore. This is like next door neighbor against next door neighbor. This is completely different. You cannot rely, oh my God, you cannot rely on the military anymore. They really have no concept of what a civil war would be like here at that level. You see it in Syria, and you see it in Myanmar, and you see it in those places. But those countries are infinitely smaller than this one as far as area. So, when you talk about a civil war on U.S. soil, it would be beyond devastating. I just don't see, people just don't understand the scope of what they're asking for.
No, but I really think when people talk that way, what they have in their mind is a national divorce. Not like they're not envisioning an actual ground war that's going to be.
There are, I
know they're calling for that.
No, I will agree to a certain point. There are those of us that would not mind a national divorce. I am one of them. I'd be fine with certain states just saying, you know what, y'all do your own thing, we'll do our thing, and just leave us alone. That would be fine. I'm talking about the people that want the civil war for the sake of killing and getting rid of people with whom they don't agree politically. There are people like that out there.
Of course, yeah.
And they're very, very loud. And they just don't understand.
No, they don't.
They don't.
Because most of the people that think that way are also rather stupid. And I'm talking about on both sides too. I'm not,
Oh no, we have our share.
Yeah, there's plenty of stunted thinkers on both sides. If I can do the, at the risk of sounding like Charlottesville here, I'm saying the opposite though. There are plenty of not fine people on both sides.
This is true.
But we should, we also have to address the absolute FUBAR performance from the Secret Service on Saturday.
Hey, nice tease for the show coming up tomorrow night, by the way.
Do it.
I said great tease considering that show's on tomorrow night, by the way.
Oh, yes, that's true. FUBAR is back on tomorrow night.
There you go. See, synergy here at KLRN.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, we're all about the synergy.
But that Secret Service performance was
I was
abysmal on every level.
I have seen TV shows and movies where the Secret Service performance is far better than what happened. And I'm not even saying it was a great movie or a great TV show. I'm just saying that at least that performance actually was valid.
Well, did you happen to see when Donald Trump went into the DNC convention last night?
Yes.
When he
the
came
RNC
into
convention,
the arena?
you mean?
What did I say?
DNC.
Oh, sorry.
I'm like, I would have paid bank to see that though.
I was reading something and talking at the same time. I can't multitask. That's too much on my think muscle.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, he comes walking in and he's surrounded by Secret Service agents. All of them 6'2" or taller. Almost every single one of them a white guy.
Yeah, I saw there was one gentleman who was African American that I saw, and I was just like, so this is his detail. He's back to getting his own detail. The whole assignment of the detail for this one particular rally just boggles the mind. It boggles the mind. I just cannot make it work in my head.
Can I for a second, only because of what I used to do for a living?
Mm-hmm.
3 things. 1, it wasn't his normal detail because
That's
Jill
right.
Biden had a rally, so she pulled most of all the regular Secret Service. So most of the people that weren't like direct bullet stoppers, the direct body protectors, weren't actually even Secret Service. They were Homeland Security. They were temps.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of the problem. The other problem is Secret Service for a long time has relegated perimeter work to local law enforcement, including police departments, sheriff departments, whoever's available. So they're the ones that were actually monitoring and maintaining the perimeter, not the Secret Service. The other problem that I have with all of this, after perusing everything and taking a few days to dissolve it, or to digest it, not necessarily dissolve it, is this. The director of the Secret Service just said the only reason there wasn't a counter sniper on that roof was because it was slopey. Did you see the rest of the roofs? Have you seen the picture of a Secret Service sniper standing on the sloped roof of the White House? Because there is one.
I know. That has never stopped snipers before.
Sense.
Well,
That's
the
part of
sniper
their training.
The one that took out the shooter was on a peaked roof.
That looked almost exactly like the one that they were talking about.
No, that's part of their training, as I understand it. They have to be able to be like those mountain goats on the side of a dam. They have to be like those. They train like that. Well, not like the goats on the side of the dam, but
they literally have to be able to scale almost anything with proper equipment. They have to be able to counterbalance all of it. They are trained in all of that. Now, unlike
you remember my fellow Americans?
Yeah.
When they're on the roof, they're like hopping and jumping and scaling the peaks and all that stuff and everything. Yeah, they're doing it. And that was a movie.
Yeah. Unlike the body blockers, the sniper details do have to practice the stuff. The counter sniper details do practice the stuff that they do because they have to deploy all the time. So they have to do all the make sure the sites are prepped, make sure they have all their equipment. One of the things, because this was even it wasn't Dan Bongino, it was somebody else talking about the little hobbit that couldn't put her gun back in her holster, and he was like, "Well, the thing about this is, with muscle memory, if you don't do things, and it was a Navy SEAL, I don't remember what his name was, but he's like, SEALs do what they do and are able to do what they do because of the repetition of the practice. The problem with having a job like that is if you don't ever actually have to do it live, you're gonna look like that on camera." So that was kind of the pass for the Hobbit. But again, I'm pretty sure she was a DHS temp because I don't think she was actually part of the Secret Service.
I used that exact phrase this afternoon when Aggie and I were doing show prep. I said it's exactly, you could tell she hasn't done this before because it wasn't muscle memory. She should be able to look to her left and holster on her right hip without even thinking about it. And it took her 7 tries.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Again, this is something that drives me absolutely crazy because That is something that if you have a gun on your person all the time, you learn to do it, because that way, if you ever have to do it, you already know how. I only had to draw my gun 3 times the entire time I carried one. And yet, anytime I had to draw it, I damn sure knew how to draw it from muscle memory, because you have to, or you may die.
Well, that's
That's
even
what-
part
yeah.
of your range training, is when you stand there with the gun holstered and then boom,
And you take
holster,
it, you
shot,
have to-
and return. That's for that very reason, to get that motion and that slide as a natural reaction, as opposed to something you have to think about. And
I admit I
Stop
do the same
interrupting you guys'
thing.
show now. So
but the other
and-
problem with this whole detail is the ones that gathered
The
on him
hobbits.
upon the shots, the meat shields, they were like 3 and 4 inches shorter than Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So
I'm like,
in order for him to even get to the SUV, he had to basically do a crab crawl for them to cover him accurately so that they could body shield him. That's a problem. And yeah, the fact that his detail was pulled for the Jill Biden event is ghastly. But this is the other issue. Look at the 2 directors of the Secret Service right now, the main director and the deputy. They're both female. Where'd they come from? Highly recommended by the Jill Biden team. Because
Well-
they want a 30%. They've actually stated this. They want 30% of the Secret Service to be female by a specific date.
well, the new director is also part of Biden's team when he was vice president too. So she became really good friends with Jilly. So that's how she got.
But she doesn't even have like necessary field experience. She came from Pepsi. She used to be a security head at that company. So
Eh.
it's not like she rose through the ranks of the Secret Service either. This is an appointment.
mhm.
That's a problem.
So it's a very big problem. It's that whole diversity issue that is rampant in government right now.
And if people listening to us haven't, go back and listen to Dan Bongino's show yesterday.
Man,
a
he lit
former-
into it.
Former Secret Service, highly placed special agent in the Secret Service. He is knows everything about the Secret Service top to bottom. Still has contacts within it, the SS, that he knows ardently, deeply. He broke down everything wrong on Saturday. And pulled no punches. It's not like, hey, those are my buddies, I'm protecting. No, he comes out and just said right off the bat, director fired. She needs to be fired yesterday. I mean,
Which means she's going to stay on, because of course.
oh yes, because there's no such thing as accountability in the Biden administration. I got to check
no.
myself. No, there's one time I did see somebody lose a job in the Joe Biden, the first week in office or so. TJ Ducklow from the communications office threatened a reporter, said, I'm going to ruin your career.
Oh boy. Okay.
TJ Ducklow, by the way, is about 5'2". If he had gotten in my face like that when I was in Washington, I swear to God, he'd probably still be limping.
Excuse me, there is absolutely nothing wrong with being 5'2".
Well, not for a chick.
I didn't say there was something wrong.
I will drag Zelda into this conversation.
I'm just saying, in comparison to
I call her
myself.
the refrigerator imp. She's not going to win either.
Oh, she's so funny.
My point is, having somebody of diminutive stature like that trying to threaten me would have been laughable.
Oh,
I probably
please.
would have put my
I could
notebook on
threaten
his
you,
head.
and you'd run. If I threatened you, you would.
That's because we know Puerto Ricans are like Klingon warriors. You have like 12 deadly things on your body at all times.
Excuse
Well,
me.
I will
I'll have
admit-
you know that as a journalist, I am just like Katie Tur, and I run towards gunfire, and I'm a fireman, and I've been there.
I'm a fireman.
On Normandy.
That's right. And Kosovo, you took fire, Fort Hillary in Kosovo.
She
too,
actually
yeah.
said that. She's like, journalists are just like firemen who run into burning buildings. You stop
I've
it.
never
You
seen.
would-
I have yet to see. No. I've never seen a reporter run
you
into a
would
burning
wet
building.
yourself if that took place. Hey, Katie, my hamster's still in there. Well, they're really only like $5, right? You can get it on.
How far away is the nearest pet store?
Give me a break. Katie Turner. That's it. The more.
But, you know,
resounds
as far as the current state of the Secret Service, they have been having a lot of issues. Let's not forget the female Secret Service attached to Vice President Harris, who absolutely lost her shit and started attacking another Secret Service guy. And that was deemed she had been under a lot of stress and had a nervous breakdown. And I'm like, no, I've been under a lot of stress. I almost had a nervous breakdown, and not once did I decide to attack somebody that had a gun holstered on him for any reason. Just like, what?
Good thing there was no stress witnessed on Saturday.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely not. And the thing was, but you're right. That was one thing that I noticed as soon as they finally managed to get him to the SUV and finally put him in, there were 4 women around the SUV, 4 agents that were female. And I was like, that's almost unheard of. What are the odds that there would be this many female Secret Service attached to a former president? I've never even heard of such a thing. I'm not saying that female agents don't do a good job or they don't deserve the same, accolades or whatever. I mean, it should be something based on meritocracy, not on whether or not you're female. And this is a problem that they're having right now, that they have to contend with that whole 30% by such and such a date, of diversity, which includes more women. And I'm like, look, I will be the first to admit I'm Hispanic, I'm Catholic.
Wait a second.
I'm female.
You're Puerto Rican?
I'm the trifecta. But, I am actually not as hellfire and brimstone as some of my other family members tend to be. Possibly because I assimilated into the American way and they did not. They obviously they're in Puerto Rico. But I
like to say that you're passionate.
I can be, but I tend to I step back and I try to look at things logically. The rest of my cousins can't do that. My God, no. They I think they'd burn some circuitry if they tried. So
you're energetically effusive.
But it takes a lot of effort. I mean, when you are a Secret Service agent, you go in there with the understanding that you're possibly going to have to take a bullet for somebody, and it will kill you. The possibility is always there. It's there constantly. So when I saw those 4 women, like I said, it's nothing about them. It's about the fact that the odds are so, they're not there. Okay. They're just 4 women agents for this, to surround him for this thing. No, that doesn't work in my head. Women are not built the same way. I'm not saying women won't take the bullet. I would take a bullet for any family member, and I would take a bullet for most of my friends as well. That's not it's the physical ability to get in the way of the bullet, and you saw that. There was one of the pictures showed the one with the chignon crouching down, not protecting the president, but trying to dodge the bullet herself. So
yeah, they were basically mobbing Donald Trump, and she was a couple inches away and she was in a crouch, not actively shielding him. But that's the entire point. When you come out and state, well, we want 30% female, you then are not selecting based on skills.
No, that's skills are actually.
This is affirmative. It's affirmative action.
And they're not even secondary. Skills are not secondary anymore. Yes.
All you're doing is meeting quotas. You're not getting the best. You're not getting the prime examples that you want serving the president. And then on top of that, when they pulled the detail for Jill Biden, of all things, not that she shouldn't be protected, but
why didn't Jill get the chicks?
Yeah, she asked for them, right? Plus, they're probably closer to her height. But here's the other thing. We've just learned today that there were elevated alerts on Donald Trump ahead of this event. So they knew ahead of time, and it came from Iran. They said that they were going to target him. Not that this guy was affiliated with them, but there was that alert. So they said it was like heightened. Okay, Iran has really said they're coming out and targeting Donald Trump. So what do? They pull his primary staff. What? That alone flabbergasted me. And then once you realize where this kid was that shot him or shot at him, depending on your interpretation of events, 130 yards away is not a significant distance. And in fact, you could see that from the podium, how this was not covered. Like, I don't know how they didn't have agents stationed on that roof.
I do not understand why that was not covered.
They should have had secondary snipers positioned there, let alone having it unguarded. I mean,
it just seems to me that the Secret Service has been just very lax in the past 2.5 decades. It's just like, yeah, okay, we're here to look good in our jackets with our earpieces and our sunglasses. That's pretty much where they're at right now. Because I can't make this work.
Congress was actually voting to pull the security detail from Donald Trump.
Yeah, that was Benny Johnson. I don't forgot what it was, but yeah, he was the one that was sponsoring it.
I can't verify this. It was a meme, but somebody had posted. It was like 12 or 13 Congress people who were behind this bill. 12 of them were black.
Yes, yeah, they were. I know that the chick with the cowboy hat was behind it. Maxine Waters.
that mess from Florida.
Yeah, I forget. Felicia, is that her name?
You know what? I've seen her for years down here, and I've never even bothered to learn her name. I saw her give a speech about.
All I know is that that's her brand. That cowboy hat is her brand.
Oh, and she's got like 85 of them.
At least. Because they're all different. Every time I see her, it's a different hat.
Whatever color outfit she's got on, she's got a hat that matches. Yeah, you'll say her name and I'll be, oh yeah, that's right. She doesn't come to mind. I've like blocked her out. She's so stupid.
Hey, you two.
Yes.
Just a programming note. Haley's about to speak at any moment. If she does start while you guys are live, do you want to join it or no?
Nikki Haley?
Mm-hmm.
We can wind up if you need us to go.
No. It's your show, so I didn't know if you wanted to join in on that or just because she's supposed to start talking pretty much any minute now, but they haven't actually announced. So I just wanted to know if it does come on, if you guys want to join it and talk about it a little bit or not. It's your show. I'm cool either way. I've been doing this all day.
I'm probably going to side with apathy.
Same.
Okay.
I'm like
I wasn't that interested when she was running. So I'm not really sure what she can say outside of he can have my delegates. But we'll already take them. But that's if you wanted to, but
no, it's you guys' show right now. That's why
we're good. We're good.
That's why I'm not really preempting anything because this stuff's going on for hours and hours and hours. So we can always do a recap over the weekend or something.
That sounds good. A recap days.
No, I don't have. I wouldn't have any comment to add to it. That's my thing. It's like, I'm good. She's
okay. Keep going. You're good.
Okay.
I just wanted to find out.
I know they were doing at Red State. I think they were doing a live blog tonight too. It's like, hey, who's going to be there? And it's like, why?
Yeah, I'll pass.
Oh, I got a show tonight. That's what it is. Okay. Good.
Although it has been interesting to see the convention speakers. I mean, I'm
not against all that. It's just when I looked at like who was going to be out, I was like,
Well, it was interesting. I started watching it yesterday, because I wanted to see him come in and everything. And of course, the very first thing that Liberal X was saying was like, oh my God, he's wearing a sanitary napkin on his ear because it was so big. Well, what a lot of people don't know is that that's like a sleeve that's placed over a wound specifically for an ear. So it just hangs on, to protect the wound. But it looked very blockish, and so people were making fun of that. And then, but what I found interesting was that there are some people saying that, this was all fake. He was not shot. This was, he had a squib or something, and
Yeah, there's some of that.
the blood didn't coagulate and all this stuff, blah blah blah. And I'm going, I cannot with these people right now. I just can't.
False flag. This is all. Yeah, I'm sorry. Somebody actually perished, and 2 other people were wounded.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and I think there's
Little
still
difficult
critical condition. I mean, it's just
hard to fake that.
And somebody was talking about how it's possibly from the glass from the broken teleprompters, and I'm like looking at the pictures. The teleprompters are intact. Broken glass.
They have a still shot of the bullet whizzing by his head.
Yes.
Yeah, New York Times had that. It was like in flight.
So
Seems
but
a
anyway,
bit real. But
I
of
wanted
course,
to
we all
watch
know
it.
the New York Times is in on the conspiracy.
Oh, of course.
They,
anyway,
they do the bidding of the RNC.
I wanted to, watch, when he arrived and all that stuff. And I wanted to see the delegates and I wanted to see the pomp and the circumstance, but I really wanted to see who was going to be speaking. And I was surprised at some of the people that did show up to speak. And I gotta say, I'm kind of okay with it because it shows that there are people that are from the other side of the aisle who are actually willing to work because with the with the Trump administration and everything, because they do feel that it is more constructive. And to see the president of the Teamsters, who for the first time in I don't know how long, the Teamsters are not they're not endorsing the Democratic candidate. I was like, when that news came out, I was just like, what the hell is going on? And then he shows up at the RNC to speak, and I'm like, CERN is broken. CERN is broken. That is the only explanation I can think of right now. Of course,
Or Jeff pointed out, CERN finally ironed out the kinks, and everything's humming along as intended.
Yeah, that's what Jeff said, and I give Jeff both of my side eyes. So it's just like, no. But he wasn't the only one that went to speak that you would not have expected to find. And another one was this young woman who has is, I guess, an adult entertainer of some sort, Amber Rose or something.
But OnlyFans.
Yeah, and so a lot of people were like, "What is she doing there?" And she told her story.
Dude, Matt Walsh had a fit.
Oh, he did have a huge fit. Now, I can understand why some people would be very hesitant to have somebody like that, speaking and blah, blah, blah. But personally speaking, from my experience, I found absolutely nothing wrong with it. She had a really nice speech to give. She told of her trek from being a Democrat to now wanting to vote for Trump and why. And she was very, very candid about the whole thing. It was actually very refreshing to see somebody that age talking about how, she had those come to Jesus moments. And, and like I said, and those stand out, but there were others that came and spoke and talked about that. And, but I saw a lot of people on the right. Yeah, we can't trust them because they're still Democrats, blah, 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 and all that stuff. And I'm like, this is the problem. There are Democrats out there that see that their party has gone. I mean, they're gone. They're not Democrats anymore. They're full on socialists. They want their Democratic Party back. The only way they can get there is to be under our tent and work together to where we can rise above all of the destruction that is coming about with the socialism that's been taking place. And so, excuse me, for me, it was very refreshing to see, especially young people, because we're always being told that the GOP, the grand old party, is old. Emphasis on the O. So you have new faces, you have younger people coming in. You now have a vice presidential pick who is 39 years old, whose life story is amazing. And people are
And who
complaining about
has
it.
a beard.
And beard. He's got a beard.
There was all kinds
And
of speculation how this has been like, what was it, 85, 95 years since somebody on the presidential ticket had a beard.
Not true. Obama had a beard. Her name was Michelle.
Ooh, see, you went there.
damn.
Send all your
Okay.
emails to Rick at KLRNRadio.com.
I threw that one
So,
down. So send hate mail to radiofreerick@gmail.com. I will respond to each and every one. No
And
fucks given.
and one of the things that I did see that a lot of people were wigging out over was the convocations and the benedictions and the prayers that were given at the RNC. And there were some people losing their ever-loving minds because a woman gave a Hindu benediction up there. And I'm just like, what's wrong with that?
I don't even think they knew who that was.
I know they didn't know who it was. But the weird thing was these people actually believe, no, it should just be Christian. And I'm like, that's not the way this works. This is not a religion that we're talking about. This is not a church. This is a political get together. This is about politics. It doesn't matter what your religion is. I saw women wearing hijabs down there, holding signs for Trump. You
I
cannot
know, right?
possibly tell me
Who
this
the
is
hell-
old.
Who
Well,
the
this
hell
is-
thought we would ever see that, though? I mean, let's just pause on that for a second. Women wearing hijabs who are openly supporting Donald J. Trump for president. I, for one, never thought I would see that. I, for one, never thought I would see a GOP allowing someone to do a non-Christian prayer. And I've been having this fight with people all day as an ordained minister. I'm like, look, I will put my God against any other God in the arena. I watched Moses do it. I watched it happen. I've seen it happen over and over again in the Bible. And I trust my God to be able to prove to anyone who has questions that he's the real God whenever he's ready to do that. So I don't care who people pray to. I've said this for forever. I've been having the same fight in Oklahoma because our superintendent's wanting to put Bibles in all the schools. And they're like, well, what if they start petitioning to put the satanic Bibles in there? I don't care. I don't care. Because my God's bigger. Let's stop fighting over the small stuff. It's not that hard.
It is not. It is not that hard. It's amazing to me how difficult they're trying to make it. I'm like, you are literally witnessing a path moving forward where people can work together and to stabilize everything that has been going wrong. I mean, we have a president that says we beat Medicare. And what you all don't understand is that he let the cat out of the bag. It wasn't a flub. He was actually admitting what they had done. They actually beat Medicare.
I think that everybody else talks about
the Wall Street Journal has the receipts. Okay. And so I'm like, and now you have the Republican National Convention, and you saw so many diverse groups of people who want to vote for Trump. And they admit I'm an independent. There were a couple of Democrats that were like, we are voting for Trump because we need his guidance. We need his ideas to move forward. They cannot rely on the Democratic Party anymore. And now
see, you said something that was really, really pertinent just now. And that is that believe it or not, you did.
Do I get a cookie? Because I really want a cookie.
Here, I thought you were going to like light me up and you're like surprised to hear this yourself. Wait, me? What? Yes. The very fact that you said that this is not a church, this is not a religious movement, it's a political party. Absolutely. This is one of the things that bothers me about Matt Walsh. And it's, love him, hate him.
and Steve Dace and the rest of them, if I'm being honest.
Well, it's just, I don't, there was something, there was a political conference that took place, I don't know, about a year or so ago. And there was a adult performer, a porn star, showed up in one of them, and she was, going through and filming herself there and talking about how she was doing all these things and how great this was, and he was flipping out and saying, "Oh, she should be kicked out of this place." I was like, dude, this isn't. It's not like she's at Bible camp, okay? This is a political conference, and that's the issue. Is so many times you talk to people and you give your opinions like, well, get your Christian values out of here. It's like it's a conservative value. It has nothing to do with religion, what I'm talking about. But that's the thing is like yes, I mean, we've entwined ourselves with the religious right to a degree, and yes, and it's valid too at the same time. But it's not exclusive. It's not, you don't have to get baptized to become a Republican or a conservative. So
No, and that's the thing. There are varying degrees of conservatism. You have fiscal conservatism, you have liberal conservatism, and you have a whole plethora of degrees in the middle. The one thing that I will say about Walsh is the reason he's so uncomfortable about sexual performers being anywhere near him is because they're all on his browsing history.
Oh, I mean, he has his certain opinions, and he does bring a lot of stuff to the table. I mean, his movie, What Is a Woman? That was great. I got to give him props for that. But the whole yoga situation, he really has a hair up his butt about the yoga situation. You should not practice. Yeah, you should not practice yoga because it's evil, and women should not wear yoga pants. Those are his two stances on yoga, and I'm like, okay, whatever. But and
Matt will not be running
for him to actually come out and say what he did about that young woman, for me, it was actually very unchristian. And I will say that simply because this is the kind of thing that he would have turned on Mary Magdalene. He would have. And I'm like, you can't do that. You can't. The woman is actually showing a path to redemption as she's speaking up there. And you're going to tell the rest of us, oh, no, you can't pay attention to her? How fucking dare you? Who made you God? I mean, nobody.
The religious aspect, yes, there's value in it, and there's morals and decency and all that, but that is not a litmus test for a political party either.
No, it's not. And here's the thing: when you have somebody that somebody was going to cast the first stone on this woman, and I'm like, what would Jesus do, Matt? What would Jesus do? He obviously did not get the memo that day. I think he skipped Sunday school class that day, honestly.
And not only that, he doesn't see the value in what she's delivering either, because she's showing a new perspective and she's bringing her life experience to the table. And not only that, as a bonus, people on the left freaked out when they saw that. Like, people on CNN and stuff too were like, this is not good. This is
and I'm like,
different.
How is this not? You remember Sister Act, right? I mean, it was one of the few movies that what's her name actually did that were pretty cool. But yeah, her. Anyway, the church has barely any parishioners coming in or anything. She's put in charge of the choir. She does something great with the choir, and people outside start listening. And these are kids, and they just start coming inside to see what was going on. And the priest is like, oh my gosh, come on in, have a seat. And they all sit down and they all stay for the sermon. And soon enough, that church gets full. That is how I see what this girl did.
Well, that's exactly what I was talking about. That was exactly what I was talking about today during my rant. It was like, if you guys are trying to chase her out of the church, one, you don't know if she's already had her Reformation moment or if she's coming near one. And two, if she hasn't had a Reformation moment yet, how many prayers was she exposed to? How many people did she meet that she wouldn't have met otherwise that proved to her that we are not the racist bastards the left say that we are? Not only is this good from a political perspective, but if you are in fact worried about this woman's soul, that was probably the best place for her to be last night.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, exactly. If you banish her, you're not bringing her into the fold. It's like, if
you banish her, you are not espousing the politics that you claim to embrace. You're just not. We're supposed to be, we're supposed to have a large tent. We're supposed to be able to bring people in from all walks of life, from all creeds, nationalities, religious aspirations, whatever. They're
Matt,
supposed to be welcome.
Matt's fine with a large tent as long as that tent doesn't make him pitch one.
Ouch again.
Rick with the metaphors this evening.
It's like, dang, okay.
And thank you for that image.
Mhm.
You're welcome.
Well, we do have a couple of side stories that are of a non-political nature. We kind of overloaded on this, but it was kind of inevitable at the same time. It was there was just so much big news going on.
Well, if your producer would have shut up for like 30 minutes, you'd have been fine. But
Oh, we're going to talk about that in the green room.
Oh, there's a
It's all right.
green
I'm on
room.
your
And does it
button.
have cookies?
So, a couple of quick hits, because as we always like to do on this show, is to broaden minds and edify the education of our listeners by bringing new information from the outside, possibly. So, we also cover, science and art and research. For instance, well, Aggie kind of dropped the ball this week, so I had to provide the art.
I'm
Culture.
sorry. I've been a little busy.
Oh, go tell your Lo Siento elsewhere. I'm kidding. I'm happy that I can bring art to the table as well.
I'm going to need to load the psycho sound effect for you too, aren't I?
So this is from Australia, where they had kind of an art contest among very esteemed professionals in the field, as it were. Specifically, this is in Perth, Australia. And they basically were asking for some sort of a portraiture to be submitted for judgment. They wanted to see, what can you bring? Self-portrait or somebody else's as such. Well, the
This
winner.
is so ridiculous.
Why do you hate the classics? Why do you hate art?
I cannot for the life of me understand these people.
I'm trying to bring culture to the show, Aggie. Please.
Whatever.
Artist Nina Salabir managed to win with a piece. It's called Self-Portrait on a Washcloth. Now, myself not being a art historian or such, full disclosure, I didn't go to visual arts training of any capacity. So my translation of the artwork here might be a little tough. Let's see. I want to make sure I use the proper terms, as far as medium that's involved here and such. I believe it would be described basically as a cloth rag with her makeup on it.
That's pretty much what it is.
She literally, she says, came home from New Year's Eve. It was a rough night. Took a rag to her face. You can see the lipstick and you can see the marks from the eyelashes, from the mascara, and then various smudges all over the rest of the cloth. She submitted that as artwork and won.
Oh my God.
I had a bit of an emotional night, she said. I was feeling a bit sad, to be honest, and still had a bit of alcohol left in my system. I'm giving you this just so that you could fully appreciate and absorb what motivates the muse of an artist. I was loaded and I didn't come home with a guy. Yeah.
It was, I'm looking at it right now. It is not, it doesn't even have, it looks like, no. You know what? I have wiped my face with a washcloth before. My makeup does not stay on that well on the cloth. Nowhere near it. Okay. Especially on evenings that I've had a little too much of wine, or if I'm very tired, or I'm uber emotional, as this chick was describing herself to have been that night. No, it is not. It doesn't do that. And I'm telling you this right now. Every gal I know on Twitter right now would probably tell you the same thing. If they were to see that cloth, they would say that is staged. There is no way that she took that off. She took her makeup off like that. On top of that, that cloth was probably, if she takes off her makeup, she usually, some people use makeup remover, some people use soap and water, right? I want somebody to do a test on that cloth to see if there's any remnants of makeup removing particles in there, because that looks so staged to me, it's not even funny.
I'm bothered that you're so antagonistic to the process.
I'm a woman. I've taken makeup off for years. I know how to do it correctly. And I know how to do it when I'm tired, and I know how to do it when I'm in an emotional mess. So,
okay,
yeah.
Aggie, let me just take your hand and walk you through the process of inspiration. Okay, because Salabir explains.
I'm not taking this walk.
She says that the wind has inspired her to delve deeper into more conceptual works about how people present themselves to the world wearing makeup. She looked at this particular cloth and said, "That's me. I think it was a case of art happening to me. I just had to be there to receive it."
Okay, whatever. She, like I said, this is completely staged because I'm sorry. I've dealt with, every woman has tried both waterproof mascara and regular mascara, and let me tell you something. Mascara, when you're taking it off, doesn't leave those nice little imprints unless you have the tubey mascara, in which case those little long lines would be more pronounced, but you'd have to have some kind of solvent on them to take them off of your lashes. Trust me, I have studied this because it is the most stupid thing on the planet. Gee, what mascara should I use? I even had a long time ago, I had a for women only type of poll, and I put two out there just by their names. One was called Better Than Sex, and the other one was Perversion. So those are the names of the mascaras. And every single woman was saying the same thing. Huh? Oh yeah, of course. You know how the makeup people are. And so most of the women were saying the same thing. Oh, this one's so hard to get off with, if it's waterproof, and if it's not waterproof, it's just gonna you're gonna have raccoon eyes. And that's another thing. There are no raccoon eyes on that thing. And there would have been raccoon eyes on that cloth if she were taking off the makeup after a highly emotional state. I'm telling you, that is completely staged. She cheated a bunch of people, and it's like the Emperor's New Clothes for me. That's exactly what this is.
So you're not buying it, is what you're saying?
I am not buying a damn thing. No, she cheated.
I do got to say this, however, based on the names of that makeup, I think it should be a lot easier to get off. Phrasing. Okay. To wrap up, probably my favorite story of the week here. Easily my favorite story.
Are you talking about the 6 years?
Uh-huh. In a world where many people wish they could get away with skipping work for a day or two, a man in Spain took things to a whole new level. Meet Joaquin Garcia, 69. Joaquin decided he was just not going to go to work any longer, and did not do so. He was a building supervisor for a water treatment plant in Spain, employed by the local government. And as time went on, work environment became stressful for him, and he decided to take an unconventional approach to deal with the stress. He just stopped going to work. Okay, good enough. However, he stopped working. The checks did not stop arriving, however. He continued to get paid for his job without going in for 6 years. How the hell you not go to work for half a dozen years and nobody notices? Well, of course, government job, that's one. But also his water treatment supervisor position kind of straddled two different departments, I guess. And they each thought that he was still doing work for the other. And
I mean, this is beautiful.
As a result, nobody missed him. Okay, so 6 years have transpired. How did they catch the guy? This is the best part. Well, it adds to it because this whole story is great. After 6 years, he was caught. Not because they found an accounting error, not because payroll decided to figure out who we're giving checks to. Nope. A calendar note popped up on somebody's computer. Hey, it's Joaquin's 20th anniversary with the company. We should celebrate. And so for the first time in 6 years, they decided to find him and couldn't. That's got to be the icing right there.
I mean,
the only reason they caught him is they wanted to have an office party.
They wanted to celebrate his 20 years. And I'm like, 14. Personally speaking, I would have said, yeah, you know what? So the most that he can be penalized for is, what did you say, 30 grand? 30,
well, the cat collected $41,000 annually for 6 years, but because of Spanish law, the maximum he can pay back is 30 grand. Not bad work if you could find it.
No, but it just goes to show you that his position is superfluous. They can just do away with it completely. So
only
maybe now the government will save a little money. Oh man, that's beautiful.
Well done, Joaquin.
It's kind of like the Office Space, but in reverse. They're trying to get rid of him, but they stopped the checks, but he still comes to work.
I was told that I would have a bigger cubicle. I should be getting my cubicle. And then Tommy borrowed my red stapler, and he had not returned it. And I mean, the red stapler. I need this. My swing line. Where's my red swing line?
I have one. Anyway,
you know, they had to create that after the movie.
Of course.
Like they did not make those. That was something they did that as a prop, and it became like so big after it was.
It's iconic now.
Yeah, swing line was like, well, we got to make one.
That's amazing. Well, I guess we're well past our top of the hour, so
yeah, we gave some bonus time here.
It was my fault. I kept interrupting you, so it's fine.
Oh no, it's
fine. We'll blame Rick for this one, and
Listen,
now we'll turn the program over to Nikki Haley for her wisdom and erudite observations about the party.
No, we won't, because since you guys said no, I'm going to bed. I have to be on shift again at 6.
Got it. Okay.
Well, all right, quick, take a deep breath and tell us where we can find you, Brad.
How quiet you! You got more than I do now.
No,
anyway,
I do not.
Hush. I've got availability over at townhall.
You're trying to get stabbed.
Oh my God, we're going to be here until like 10:30. Whatever. You can see my writings on a daily basis over at townhall.com. I've got my daily media column there. It's called Rift from the Headlines. And I'm also, as I said earlier, available at Red State, where we're celebrating our 20th anniversary. I encourage you to go check things out there because got a lot of freebies, a lot of happenings, and applying all kinds of different things going on regarding that event. We actually had Eric Erickson pen something briefly for us the creator, the inventor, the founder of Red
yeah.
State.
I remember.
He contributed. So yeah, that's going on there. And I've got my twice weekly podcast, as I said, free this week, usually on the VIP side. So you can listen into even more of me. And you can actually listen to more of me this week. I'll be here Thursday night with Paul Young from ScreenRant.com as we guide you through the dark alleyways and dingy halls of Hollywood with bad movies on disasters in the making. And then opposite Thursdays, I'm here with Ordy Packard. He and I delve into the important and vital entertainment information on the culture shift. And of course, every Tuesday with the ever effervescent Aggie Reekin here in the Cocktail Lounge. And if you need more of me than that, let's face it, you do. If you head over to Twitter, Jitter, I am at Martini Shark. And what about you, Aggie? Where can people find more of your magnificence?
Well, you can find me at Aggie Weekend and at Aggie the Barkeep. Those are over on X. You can find me 8:30 p.m. Eastern Tuesday nights doing the Cocktail Lounge with you. 8:30 p.m. Eastern Friday nights doing He Said, She Said with our awesome producer, Rick. The last Wednesday of every month at 8 p.m. Eastern, we get together for Toxic Masculinity, where the guys, Rick, Ordy, G, and Andrew get together to discuss guy issues. We host a Babe of the Month, and I bring the drink of the evening. And last but not least, Jeff and I are now doing a book podcast, Spirited Books. That's 8:30 p.m. Eastern, the first Monday of every month. So tune in for that. Our next one should be coming up a couple of weeks. Hopefully nothing will happen that will prevent us from hosting it. But anyway, thanks so much, everyone, for joining us. We hope you have a lovely evening.
Hey, Brad, you keep telling Aggie to hush, and we may have to change the name of the show.
I see.
So go raise a glass and look at the ceiling.
That's not the intro or the outro I wanted. 1 second. All right, there we go. Say goodnight, Gracie.